listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
There was this one time I went snorkeling in the Caribbean when I was a kid. It really just blew my mind. We saw the most beautiful corals. I remember thinking they were waving at us as they moved with the ocean. And then there were all these amazing fish. I'll never forget it. It completely changed the way I look at the ocean.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
All right, folks, this is Thunder Thursday.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, my friend?
I'm just fine, Tony. How are you?
Good. I'm doing fantastic. This is Tony Marmo.
And Richard Catabiani.
We're broadcasting live from 16 Lucas Avenue in beautiful downtown Kingston.
Indeed, it is beautiful downtown Kingston. All of these roundabouts and the new park down where the post office used to be with the remarkable idea of making this city even more beautiful than it can be.
Yeah, we're doing great, and it's a balmy 38 today.
Yes, it is.
So our last show of the year, last Thunder Thursday show of the year, coming down to the end of 21. What's the reckoning on 21?
Well, I believe the counselor, the jury is still out. We'd like to get back to you on that. We'll send you a memo soon.
Yeah, I would say, well, certainly it was better than 20. We when the throes of the pandemic were happening, but we're going through another burst here. And it's kind of dampening a lot of stuff, but we got to be looking forward to a 22 where this thing dissipates and just disappears. And that's a little optimistic, right? Everybody think
we were saying that last year.
I know we were saying it last year, right?
I think that the folks are a little bit more wise this year. I think they are beginning to read between the lines and getting the message, whatever that may be, which is basically stay healthy.
No, that's a great message. The message from our elected officials kind of meanders a little bit.
What a surprise.
What a surprise. But look, it was a good year for Kingston Community Radio, I think. Lawrence, I know you're trying to wolf down some
God, yeah, it was. But, the best year ever.
Best year ever for KCR, and we had a lot of great supporters and people contributing and making sure that this station stays on the air as a not-for-profit.
And the best, because of you and Bob and Tony and Greg and
a lot of
and the 19 other hosts that were on that day.
Val Dwyer.
The best happy Christmas fund ever. And to that avail, Richard's got something important to tell us.
Well, yes, we're happy that the Rotary Club of Kingston is now an official underwriter of of this exceptional radio station, and I guess I can say a little bit about Kingston now.
You can talk a little bit about. Sure. Rotary Club of Kingston.
So basically, since 1916, the Rotary Club of Kingston has worked tirelessly to improve our community, our lives, and our world, fulfilling Rotary's motto, service above self. Now, we support several projects and events throughout the year to benefit both our local and international communities, and so we continue to restore and revitalize historic Rotary Park at Kingston Point. We provide scholarships for Boyce's Kingston High School students and SUNY Ulster. We support the Veterans Reintegration Project and the Patriots House. We've distributed COVID masks, thousands of them, to the community. And we provide disaster relief through the Shelter Box Project. And last but not least, we fund international clean water projects and maternal health initiatives. And I'll just close by saying that just as the city of Kingston was the first capital of New York State, Kingston Rotary was the first Rotary Club in the Hudson Valley, and there are about 60 Rotary clubs that can trace their roots back to our club. So after more than 100 years of service, Kingston Rotary continues to remain a young and vibrant service organization.
Absolutely. Congratulations. Thanks for your contribution, and we're happy to have you on. And so I think what we want to do is also extend condolences to the Boyce family on the passing of Dick Boyce. Lawrence, right? He passed away
that was
just recently. 97
I don't know if I can
years
live to
young.
97, but yeah, he
Yep. So
our condolences to Sally and
Right.
to all the Boyce kids and
right.
and all the grandchildren. I mean,
they've hosted the Happy Christmas Fund for a number of years for us.
a number of years, and yeah,
and he was
was one of the founders of Boyce Brothers.
Yeah.
They've been running for over 100 years.
Yep.
Best eggnog in all of the world.
That's true. That's true. Now, he left a legacy, left a mark, and will that be said about the rest of us?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So I don't know the Boyce family personally, but I am aware of their excellent work throughout the community. And I remember when we had a Rotary meeting a few months ago, Raleigh Green was one of the guest speakers, along with Taylor Bruck, who's a fan of the station, and we're a fan of him, and Dan Torres, and they talked about Richie Boyce having a record for the longest ice cream sundae on the planet.
It's on the
and
Guinness Book of Records, right?
And that because that exists, some people in Texas decided to do the same and beat Mr. Boyce's effort by maybe 2 scoops. So what we are about to do is revisit the longest ice cream sundae in the world, and
we can't let Texas beat us.
Not at all. So we're looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to working with Richie on this, and Raleigh and the other guys.
We have a great show today. Ashley Knox from Go Beyond Greatness will be on around 7:30, maybe a little earlier. Then we have Colleen Mountford.
Yes, we do. Great.
From the
Next Step Home and the Kingston Rotary Club, past president and current secretary.
Right. And then at 8:30, we have Gavin.
Gavin Walters is a great guy who is one of the counselors at the National Center for Veteran Reintegration right here in our new home across the street from our old home in Tech City. And Gavin is a remarkable guy, as you will hear.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting Gavin, and I know Colleen and Ashley. And so... Yeah, I mean, it's been a roller coaster year, certainly, in terms of the local activities in Kingston. I don't know if you want to mention a few things there, and looking back.
Well,
we never like to look too much in the rearview mirror. We like to look out the front window.
When you look through the rearview mirror, things appear closer than they are. So just
and they're really not.
And they're really not. Yeah, so I'm really, I'm looking, as you can see, Tony, at the local news summary put out by the Kingston Freeman, and lots of interesting stuff. But I really like the idea that firstly, the first thing that I notice here is that the cashless tolling begins, and I really find that amazing because the commute to and from places, if you have to go over any one of the bridges. Did you know that there are 13 bridges just in the borough of,
No, I didn't know that.
Well, now you do. There you go.
Those are not all cashless yet.
No, nothing is cashless. Even the cashless isn't cashless.
Right.
You know.
And it's expensive, too.
But I thought that was a nice touch. And then, of course, the big news, as I just alluded to, was Ulster County announced that it started foreclosure proceedings against 18 parcels at the Tech City Business Center.
Right.
And that now has turned into a really wonderful opportunity for many, many people who are coming to this magnificent part of the world. Near and dear to my heart, the Garlic Festival returned. Sorry about that. Near and dear to my heart, the Garlic Festival has returned. Did you ever have garlic ice cream?
I have. I've been there. Garlic beer, too.
That I haven't tried. But it sounds like a food group to me. Garlic beer and garlic ice cream.
Yeah.
And then, the Rondout Creek Bridge in the city of Kingston, it's 100 years old. Can you imagine that? I'm still too close to the microphone.
You are, because you have an outside voice. Actually.
I do. This is the
now
truth.
You're good.
Once again, the whole idea of just moving forward. I think when the world was put on pause because of COVID-19, an awful lot of the great initiatives basically stopped, and now we're back in the game.
Yeah,
I like that.
I think we're trying to get back there. Hopefully, this is just a blip. This Omicron is get through in January. It's seemed very communicable, but certainly what the folks are saying. I didn't hear Neil. He was on Neil. What's Neil's last name, Lawrence? Smaller, yeah.
Yeah.
From
he was on yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't hear him yesterday talk
good.
about the virus. Yeah, and so hopefully we get through this in the month of January and get back to or February. What do you have there?
Well, I'd like you to talk about this because this is your expertise, but the headline says Small Business Assistance Program awards $543,000, and I see...
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so we have some remarkable businesses. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that came about?
Yeah, I think it came from the federal funding, actually, through some of the post-pandemic, monies that have been gushing out of Washington, and so credit to our county legislature and County Executive Pat Ryan for coming up with a fund that's going to help small businesses. About a dozen or 15 that are going to receive some monies to keep the doors open or maybe take the next step in business. And small business we know is the backbone of our economy. And so certainly since IBM left, that's been the case here in Kingston. Our largest employers are the hospital and the college and county government. And the private sector, not as much. But so small businesses are, really needing some funding and assistance. And I'm not sure exactly what the grants were, how much they were. Each. I think each applied for a certain amount. So, but it's great to distribute that money around the community. It helps, and we always talk about the employment situation. Hasn't gotten slightly better in terms of folks wanting to come back into the marketplace to work, other than sitting home and watching Netflix.
Yeah. Well, what's also neat about this grant is it seems to be rather even-handed. The article says to qualify for funding, businesses must have 25 or fewer employees and must be either owned by a person of limited income or employ a majority of individuals who meet limited income thresholds. And the grants awarded range from $10,600 to $35,000, and that's really
good. Kind of the mom and pop businesses, right?
Yeah, it is.
Startups, a lot of startups.
Yes.
We were talking about. I'm sorry to switch back to KCR for a minute because we want to mention that we had a very successful fundraising day on November 4th for Happy Christmas Fund and KCR, and we're up to that day. We pledged was around 65,000. Lawrence, correct?
$65,980.
Right. So we're at 62,600, which is really good because.
And I have another
couple thousand.
2,000. Yeah, I got another 2,000.
So we're going to be right at what was pledged, but then we had post-contributions after that day, and we actually had some pre-contributions or a little bit too, but
The pre-contributions were added onto the sheet.
Okay, good. Okay,
but
fine.
the stuff that we collected, which is almost around
So-
7,800 after the show.
like the money from
Right, he's
Kingston
there's
Rotary Club.
500 of it right there.
Yep.
Exactly.
Thank you. That's
So,
a great contribution to the cause. So thank you to our underwriters for continuing to support us. Thank you for our listeners for continuing their financial support and their listening. We're on YouTube. All of our shows are posted up on YouTube. And so if you want to listen to a show that you might have missed, you might have, like I mentioned, Neil Smoller, that show will be up probably by tomorrow. And you can listen to Dr. Neil talk about, the fight against the virus. So, KCR's made some big leaps this year in 21, and we're looking forward to 22, some great things that are going to happen. What else, Doc?
Well, I was thinking more, getting back to the notion, and I'm hoping I'm not, jinxing this whole thing, but years ago, we had a service community luncheon.
Yes,
And
yes.
I,
We talked about that.
and I really, as you and I,
All
Tony.
Service Club, right?
All Service Club luncheon, and I really think that we are ready to have
Yeah, I
an
think so.
All Service Club luncheon again, where we bring our brothers and
Lawrence is in, the Lions Club is in, the Rotary Club's in.
probably the Elks as well.
Oh, yeah, the Elks. Are the Moose still around?
I
The
do
Order of
not
the Moose?
know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My guess is no, but.
I don't
And
know.
Zonta, I don't think is around. Junior League is still very
Yes,
active.
I believe that Ashley was involved in Junior
Yes,
League at
yes,
one point
yes,
as
yes.
well.
And we'll get them. So yeah, we're gonna try to organize this maybe for the springtime. Get some good weather coming and use these next couple of months to organize it. Find a good place. Get a great speaker.
Yep.
And because look, service is where it's at. Was I speaking about that yesterday? I may have been. No, I was talking about it with Ashley Knox actually when we had some lunch previously, and it used to be very cool thing to do and very much in concert with business to serve the community, and to help folks in need and do projects like the Rotary Park was an amazing project done by the Rotary Club of Kingston, and the Lions Club have done some amazing things. And now it's not maybe as cool as it used to be, seemingly. Or people say, I don't have enough time. I'm too busy. I'm raising a family. Now, I have to say, all of us that grew up, I joined Rotary when I was 32 years old, and we had at the time a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, I think. So we found a way to do it. I mean, if it's important, you find a way.
Yeah. I think that people who join service clubs and feel, as the Russian proverb says, the gift belongs to the giver, and I really believe that. So when you give to people who are in need, there's a real sense of satisfaction, and I believe that you receive the gift on so many levels. And for those of us who come from, like Ashley and Colleen and Gavin, who are our guests this morning, who have worked really hard, step by step, day by day, poco un poco, we get to a point where we say, you know what? I couldn't have gotten here without the help of others. It's time to give back.
Yeah, no, it's
and most of us who really live lives like that, I personally find quite fulfilling.
Yeah. Look, we get the fact that folks are busy, and there's 2-income families a lot of times, but that doesn't mean you can't take a Saturday, do a service project, get involved peripherally. And there's a lot of need out there, not only in our community, but certainly the bigger world. I've been to Haiti a couple of times, and I mean, there's such abject and extreme poverty in Haiti. You would think that this is the Beverly Hills where we live right now.
I understand.
Comparison-wise, it's just
So let me just say that, one of our international partners is the Rotary Club of Mandaluyong, and it's in the Philippines, and we have been working with them for over a couple of years, and we've been able to give them potable water. We're now working on their school systems, hoping to figure out a way to use the sun in the Philippines, which there is plenty of, for solar-powered laptops for the children. We have some very interesting things. However, the Philippines was just destroyed by this new typhoon, monsoon, hurricane, all synonyms for the same climactic disaster. And
a lot of water and a lot of wind.
And we are just so overwrought with, the troubles that many folks have in societies.
This happens, and we don't hear as much about it. I mean, certainly the event that happened now a few weeks ago through the middle part of our country, that 200-mile tornado, which is almost too staggering to understand.
And the climatologists say that in general that tornadoes don't occur in December. That's not a typical situation. And so, given what we've been going through for the last 2 years, what is typical? What is normal? What do these words mean anymore?
I call it the new abnormal.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty
really.
much.
I mean, it's really just beyond what we've seen in the past. And I'm trying to think. The geography of that is Albany to almost New York City. That's the swath that took. That's about 200 miles. Roughly.
Wow.
Albany to New York City is the path that the series of tornadoes, I guess, took. It's hard to wrap your head around that, and a lot of obviously deaths and destruction, and so we have our own issues in our own backyard. However, not to say that we shouldn't be helping folks in the Philippines and wherever we can. And there's a lot of need here in Kingston, by the way. P.S. If you ask Christine Hine that question and some of the folks that serve the needy, they'll tell you.
I would say that we had Christine at in our very first in-person speaker after we sort of decided we'd like to take the leap into getting back into in-person meetings was Christine Hine.
Right.
She was brilliant.
Yeah, she's great.
And our 7210 Rotary coat drive, the Kingston community.
Yeah.
We
How
gave
did you do on that?
53 coats.
Wow, that's great. Fantastic.
To People's Place.
Fantastic. Very good. Very good. No, it's good stuff. It's this community, I think, is a very giving community. I have to say, and maybe every community thinks that and says that. There should be a meter that registers that somehow. But I've been in this community since 1980, and it really is a tight community. I mean, we have our issues and problems, and we've seen that during 21. Kudos to Val Dwyer, co-host on KCR Thunder Thursday show, and for starting the Concerned Kingston group, and so that there's a vehicle to have some dialogue, and we have more in common than we have what separates us, and so if we stay on each side of the room, we'll never get together, and try to help folks in need. So, and Rotary clubs do that. Lions Club do that. Kiwanis clubs do that.
Yeah, we try to build bridgeheads. I mean, I can't say we're building bridges because that's a lot of a span to cover, but we can build bridgeheads, and we have been doing that, and it's very satisfying work.
Right. Now this is 6 months into your presidency as Rotary president for this year, and so you have 6 more months, and knowing you're gonna finish strong.
Well, that's my plan.
Right.
Yeah, I used to run marathons. I know it's hard to believe, but it's all about pacing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And when I coached,
great job.
When I coached track back in high school, I would remind people, get out of the gate, be comfortable, but pace yourself. And keep, as Martin Luther King Jr. would say, keep your eye on the prize.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think what makes it work for any organization, whether it's a service organization of any kind and or a small business, is you really have to have a working board. Almost every person, to a person on this board, brings a lot to the picnic.
Right.
There's not a lot of heavy lifting going on because we all have hands on the bar, so to speak.
Well, I have to say, as district membership chair for Rotary in our 8-county area, we continually, as does Lions, as does Kiwanis, need to replenish the ranks. Mm-hmm. We're getting, certainly gray-haired and white-haired, and we need to figure out a way to get the next generation involved, and it doesn't happen like by I Dream of Jeannie, kind of standing there and blinking and making new Rotarians, new Lions, new Kiwanians happen. we have to get active and go out and find these folks and find like-minded people that are willing to serve and be shoulder to shoulder with us in some of these projects. I know Lions probably has that issue too, Lawrence, right? Finding folks that want to join and that are interested, right?
Absolutely.
So
I think everyone's having that. I think all the clubs are having that
all
problem.
service clubs are having. I mean, I can tell you in our district, we've had probably about a 20% decline in our membership over the last 10 years. So, but that's typical, I think, of what's going on in the world. People are more focused inward than outward, and I get that. I mean, you're trying to build your nest and build your life and your family, and that's very critical. But there's so many folks that fall in the cracks, in the social services cracks, between the cracks, and we wind up paying for that. I mean, if you want to look at it from a business standpoint, we, the society, wind up paying for that stuff. So the service clubs really have an important role, and I think a critical role in our society to help those less fortunate or have a medical need. Lions they've been doing the eyeglass project for years. So everyone has their niche, and it's important to volunteer.
Yeah, it is. And as we are, as you said earlier, gray-haired and white, I prefer venerable and wise. But
that's true. That's true.
But a lot of the folks who are venerable and wise may not be able to attend to the daily, sweep up Kingston and or put a roof on for Rotary Park or plant a tree, but their generosity is overwhelming.
Absolutely write a check. There's no question about that. But when you have a food drive and you got to lift a few hundred pounds of food and be out there knocking on doors. So there's certainly, it's important because and I tell the Rotary clubs when I visit them, I said, look, if you project your club in 5 years or 10 years, who's going to be sitting around this table?
Right.
In 10 years. Now, we just lost Dick White, Mayor White, longtime Rotarian. I mean, we and sometimes the older folks don't speak the language of the younger folks. So we got, we have to make sure that, we're getting our young folks involved, at least asking them. The biggest reason why people don't join is because they're not asked.
That's probably true.
They're not asked, and so we need to keep the 360, radar open for great folks like Ashley Knox, who is amazing. Val Dwyer, another younger person, amazing. You and I both look at folks in their 40s and say, "Man, I got underwear and at least T-shirts."
Yeah. Shoes, socks, older than they are. Right.
Anyway, speaking about Ashley, I'm just going to see if she's out there.
That'd be great.
No, she's not.
Okay.
So hopefully she's lost. Maybe she's not lost. So anyway, good thing. So 22. Are you a resolution kind of, or New Year's resolution kind of guy?
I do have, goals, I have goals. I don't know about resolutions. I mean, you've been on the planet long enough, you realize, well, that's funny.
Right.
You said you were going to do that in 1963. Okay. And how's that going?
Yeah.
But, basically, I think, honestly and truly, the goals are to adhere even more closely to the four-way test of Rotary, which is the truth. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?
Right.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
So-
Is it beneficial to everyone?
Yeah,
Those are my goals.
Yeah. Great. Yes, Lawrence.
So that was Evelyn O'Reilly. She's a long-time
listener. Yeah, I know.
And normally she sends money in all the time.
Yeah.
So I had, we've been very busy the last couple months, so I haven't seen anything. So she calls me up, and I was like, I haven't heard from you all this time. So she was sick for a little while. She's okay now. And she's like, I got your letter or whatever. She's like, I still want to contribute. I was like, well, we hit our, we basically hit our goal. She's like, I still want to contribute anyway.
Okay, good.
So
Thank
another
you, Evelyn.
huge donation
Great.
to the Happy Christmas Fund. So
thank you.
Even though it's December 30th, the money's still rolling in. So
Right.
it's absolutely great. Evelyn, thank you so much. Evelyn O'Reilly from Sororities, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Evelyn. I know. she's
Merry
been-
Christmas, Happy New Year, Evelyn, and I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't get a chance to say it, we're coming down to the bottom of the half hour here. Is, we hope all of our listeners and underwriters have a healthy, number one, prosperous New Year. And looking out for each other. I mean, that's what we have to do, right? Isn't that our obligation to, that's what the Happy Christmas Fund does, helping several hundred families. That's what KCR is all about, giving folks a voice in the community that would not otherwise have a voice on the radio. And we thank Walter Maxwell for starting this, Gene and Lawrence for continuing, and certainly our listeners and underwriters for supporting this concept of community radio. It's very rare in the Hudson Valley. You don't see many talk shows like this, call-in shows like this. Everything is pre-recorded. Everything is, sanitized.
Yeah. Yeah, this
As
is
well as the
this is
air.
clearly not a manicured program, which I really appreciate.
It is. All right, so we'll go to break, and we'll be back in a few, listeners.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas for Habitat for Humanity Restore. Habitat Restores are nonprofit home improvement stores and donation centers that sell new and gently used furniture, building materials, and appliances to the public at a fraction of the retail cost. The Ulster County Restore at 406 Route 28 in Kingston needs your donations. Call our hotline at 845-853-7499 to schedule your free pickup. And thanks.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? By shifting to a system that gives more patients access to strong primary care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
Screening exams for breast, lung, or colorectal cancers are necessary to detect and treat disease at its earliest, most curable stage. But you may have some concerns and questions. Answer your questions and ease your fears by visiting radiologyinfo.org. In addition to information on screening and wellness, you'll find more than 200 descriptions of radiologic exams, procedures, and treatments to help you prepare. Get informed and be prepared. Visit radiologyinfo.org, produced by the Radiological Society of North America and the American College of Radiology.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by the First Savings Bank in Ulster County that still remains local to this day. Ulster Savings Bank, a community bank that's invested in local business, invested in community, invested in you. Ulster Savings Bank, your one-stop resource for everything local. Locations throughout the Hudson Valley and online at ulstersavings.com. Member FDIC.
Kingston and their community development.
Okay, we're back. We're back on. Good. This is Thunder Thursday, and we are here. You are there.
Yes, there are no lightning today, though.
Right, no
Just
lightning.
thunder.
Just thunder and lightning, like flash and boom. So this is Tony Marmo.
And Richard Catabiani.
And we're joined this half hour by Ashley Knox. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Go Beyond Greatness.
Good morning.
And et al. You have a whole list of things. I almost fell off my chair when I heard all the stuff that you've done at a very young age.
Thank you, Tony.
So,
and good morning to the viewers watching.
Yeah, exactly. We're having kind of a wrap-up 21 show, but this is really a look-forward show, too. I mean, into 22, the great things that can happen. We're going to go beyond greatness.
That's it. Now you're talking. GBG, go beyond greatness.
So, Ashley, we've met years ago when you were at SUNY.
Not too many years ago.
What I meant by that was months ago at SUNY Ulster, and you always struck me as hardworking, dedicated, sincere, absolutely truthful. What you see is what you get. There were no sides to you, and that is really, really quite refreshing. Before we actually get into the program, I'm always interested in what was the spark. What was the event, if you will, or the thought that brought you to the program that you have so successfully shepherded?
And can I, before we get that spark,
Yes.
can we ask Ashley where she grew up? Just a little bit of her bio.
Sure.
Just a little quick,
Sure.
You're a native of?
Native of Kingston, New York, the first capital of New York, exit 19, if you happen to be on 87. Yes, born and raised in Kingston. My family on my maternal side has been here documented since the 1800s. Some of them are ones that are buried in our African burial ground over on South Wall Street, not so much Pine. And
Some of those family names.
Sure. So I want to say a big wonderful shout out to the Fitzgerald family, the Dawson Bowler family. Yeah. Bowlers were here since the early 1900s. Wow. They came from York, South Carolina, moved up here in the early 1900s to work at the British factory over in Saugerties. They lived in Glasgow. So for those that remember, this is all a part of my lineage. And when I talk about Kingston being home, it's truly home.
Yeah, that's stunning to me.
Yes. And then have to save the best for last on my paternal side. Fort Knox. My grandfather was an IBMer, and he's no longer with us. And the Knoxes came up also from the Carolinas in the 50s.
Knox is part of your
no, but if they're watching, they're going to say, yeah, Fort Knox, you get it? Yeah. Why not? You got to put a little golden spin to it.
Urban legend. That's great. So great. So
let me go back to the African American burial ground on was it South Wall?
South Wall.
Yeah, I've been up there. I've been doing a photo essay study of those tombstones. Oh, yes. And in fact, as one of the projects for the Veterans Reintegration Center, I brought a piece of that because it's really quite remarkable how many soldiers are buried up there, too.
Yeah, right, which is a difference from the one that's on Pine Street.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So it's really quite amazing, just the contribution that peoples of all walks of life from every place on the planet settled in Kingston, and here we are. So I know we met at Ulster, and then I know you went on to SUNY New Paltz, and then you got a degree, a bachelor's degree, and in sociology and Latin American and African studies. Correct. And then you went on to get your master's degree in humanistic and multicultural education.
So that's SUNY New Paltz.
Yeah.
He's done his homework, right? As a teacher.
Yes.
So you're such a slacker, Knox. I just don't get it.
If I can just go beyond my greatness, I could build up that self-motivation and achievement. That's what it's all about. How do we motivate oneself to go beyond?
That, Ash. I think that was not...
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But I also see that you're a hard worker in terms of being on a board of trustees at a few things. The Community Foundation of the Hudson Valley,
Correct.
the Hudson River Sloop Clearwater, the Association of Junior Leagues, and, of course, you've received numerous awards. And I just want to say out loud to everyone, we are very, very proud of you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I have to give a couple of updates. part of my core value in terms of self. There's an importance that just comes from family values, which is leadership and service to others, service to community. So within the boards that I serve on, it's an opportunity to volunteer and be a part of the progress that happens in supporting our people and community and our planet here.
You listened to us earlier. We were
No, not at all.
talking
Is that
about this.
well, synergy?
Yes.
Synchronicity at its best, right?
Absolutely.
And so the update in terms of the boards, I just want to give an acknowledgement to all. You're correct. Board of Trustees with the Community Foundations of the Hudson Valley. They do such a remarkable job within our counties and supporting organizations, and especially during this challenge of the pandemic and keeping many organizations and nonprofits alive. So
Kevin
thank you,
Quilty?
Kevin Quilty. Yes, absolutely. So in addition to that, I did serve on the Hudson River Sloop Clearwater because environmental is something, environmental science, environmental sustainability. Well, I had to transition, and it was a hard decision, but I love my family over at Clearwater, Manna Jo Green, and the family there. She is. And so it's kind of funny. I went from one to the other and said, I'm sorry, Clearwater, but Kingston needs me. And within that transition, I accepted an appointment to be on the Board of Directors for UCEDA, the Ulster County Economic Development Alliance. And then, right, and then most recently, I guess that would have happened late spring, Board of Directors for SUNY Ulster Foundation, and just talking about giving back to your alma mater.
Salmon.
Yes, Lorraine and the
awesome.
the wonderful team there at the college.
Yes, exactly. Very cool, very cool.
So let's go back to the spark.
Yeah, so here you are, quite successful. How did it come to pass that you designed this remarkable program?
It's a really great question. It's interesting when you trust the path and you accept it, that sometimes it doesn't, it's not so much a part of the stars of the plan. You just go with it, and I think that's
not a straight line.
No, and it's not a straight line. I always like to think back of Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey.
Good for you.
And understanding what that cycle of life means, and that even though we think a cycle of life is one time, interestingly, I think we have many within our lifetime, within the shell, rather. And so the spark that helped to originate Go Beyond Greatness as a platform of inspiring youth and young adults came from my background, as far as growing up as a teenager here in Kingston, recognizing the wonderful resources that they had as far as that kept me active, and at the same time looking at some of the things that we could have improved on as far as building the next generation. And as I think back from Kingston High School and SUNY Ulster and transferring over to SUNY New Paltz, I also did a study abroad program with SUNY Albany in Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo. And having all of these experiences and coming from, a beautiful, vibrant, but little city called Kingston, depending on your background, you may be exposed to what's out there as far as opportunities, and you may not be. And I think I was one of those that was somewhere in between the cracks. I had fantastic mentors throughout my life. I had a very supportive family. But in terms of the vision that I had for myself was, as I heard growing up, was a little bit too big to come from Kingston. What I was hoping to become, and I said this at an early age, like elementary, Richard, was to become the next Oprah Winfrey.
I love it.
There was something about recognizing at the age of 7, 8 years old that I had this big voice for a little girl. And all the women that are watching right now, you probably know this. Back in the 80s, around 4 o'clock, the Oprah show came on right after work, and my mother was one while she, came from work to start dinner, sat me down, and even though I'm like, maybe 5, 6, 7 years old, I want to see Madonna and Janet Jackson, and she's like, no, you're gonna watch Oprah with me. And it was, thank you. It was quite inspirational to see what Oprah was able to do with the power of the mic, be able to reach out and inspire people, and I think more importantly, heal relationships. The context of the talk shows were maybe a little bit too mature for me at that time, but it's interesting how body language and visuals tells a narrative all by itself. the power of communication at its best. And what I remember or I recall seeing growing up watching Oprah every day at 4 is that you might have seen people coming on the show and they would smile, they would cry, look like they were yelling, some of them were fighting, but typically at the end of every show, something special happened. And Oprah was able to use her voice, the microphone, and the TV to support forgiveness, support healing of family relationships, societal relationships. You think about some of our common community or world problems, and a lot of it has to do with, the simple fact of the communication or lack thereof. And at a young age, I was just quite inspired. So moving on, I said to my parents, I know exactly what I want to do. What parent would not want that? And I was not even in 5th grade yet. I want to be the next Oprah. Well, my mother didn't have a background in communication or professional communication. My father, neither. And the school teachers, they went to school for an education, and I have a similar degree, so I know what that takes. Who would be able to say, Ashley, well, this is the pathway. If this is something that you think makes your heart sing, test it out. Try an internship here or there. And those things weren't readily available, I would say. Not to say that they weren't here in Kingston, but for me, based on just where I was in my lifetime, that did not necessarily happen. And so I took a different avenue, and I just trusted the path and went through the doors that opened up for me rather than fighting on this whole idea of I'll be the next Oprah, because typically speaking, you would have to probably go down to New York City or to a bigger city to have that opportunity to even get to that level of professional success. So fast forward, because you have me going down a wonderful memory lane, Richard.
This is excellent.
Yeah.
Education called me, because I did not call it. Saw myself as starting as a news anchor and working my way up to have my own talk show. Thank you,
Richard.
She would be.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Maybe the dreams still can come true even when you're older.
Yeah.
Right? I've got to thank Disney and Cinderella for that.
Wait, this is older.
This is old. Take a look across the vintage again.
Oh, no, you.
It's inspirational. Thank you.
A lot of gas in the tank.
Yes, and so again, trusting the path and walking into the doors of opportunity led me to become the youngest assistant director for the Center for Creative Education's POOC, Percussion Orchestra of Kingston.
Robert Mann.
Ev Mann, yes. And we're talking back in the 90s. I mean, everyone connects Drew, and Drew does a fantastic job with CCE, but we're talking about in the older days when CCE, yes, and when CCE was located in Stone Ridge.
Right.
Yeah, before they moved to Kingston. And he saw something in me, and I thank him and very grateful for his leadership and mentorship. He saw something in me as far as supporting the organization as it started to grow. I remember when POOC received its first grant from Mayor T.R. Gallo. So, we're talking, many, many years back. And as the organization and him bringing a percussion ensemble to the city of Kingston to help inner city youth as far as finding something that's meaningful, a meaningful skill to learn. And then it was a summer internship stipend. So you received a stipend at the end of the summer. What kid wouldn't want to join a program like that, especially in Midtown? So within that, I started off as a member, and by 15 years old, he promoted me as the assistant director, and I learned a lot of my project and business management from his leadership. And if you know Ev Mann, you know that he is an innovator, he's a creator, and just a fantastic, fantastic man. From there, I'm still in high school at this time, and being the assistant director, there's a lot of different responsibilities, but I'm going to jump over a few things. And you can just imagine, but just put yourself into the mindset of any parent that's supporting their, say, 16, 17-year-old son or daughter as far as the big next step of life after high school graduation. That's, what is your life pathway? Is it college? Is it going directly into work? Is it going into a vocational trade school? Or
kids don't know that.
They don't know. So imagine having those experiences. Exactly. So imagine just having those type of experiences before 18. You have a greater ability to connect why going to school from 9 to 5, or 8 to 2 is so important. making the connections between math and English and some of the other core subject matters, and how do you translate that into real world experiences so that students really become more proactive in their education, with the idea that I need to prepare myself for the next cycle of life, which is the professional world. This is all how Go Beyond Greatness eventually got started, but who would have known at 15 years old that some of the ingredients were falling right into my lap. Fast forward. Yeah, sure.
No, I at some point give some contact information for Go Beyond Greatness.
Sure. So we're located at 721 Media, Suite 104. We've been there for quite some time. And our website, you can follow us at www.gobeyondgreatness.org. And I'll say that again. So it's www.gobeyondgreatness.org. And if you are part of the social media world, then you must follow us. We're on Instagram at go_beyond greatness, and Facebook, the general name Go Beyond Greatness, and also YouTube, because I'm such a big person on visuals. If you want to see what we do, you could just YouTube us and you'll find us with the greatness symbol.
Great, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
And how young would you take students that are interested?
So we primarily serve high school students, but our services range from kindergarten all the way to young adults, so college students or students that have graduated. Most of our work is in partnerships with school districts and youth-based organizations such as libraries and other different state agencies in that sense.
And you have staff?
And we have staff. It's a small staff, but we are tiny and mighty and do really great work. The type of work that we do, so Go Beyond Greatness is recognized as a New York State education consulting organization where we provide educational programming and training for youth and young adults with an emphasis in building leadership skills and college and career readiness skills. What this is, supporting the existing youth organizations and schools and filling the gaps. And like I had mentioned to you earlier, based on just my life story, thinking about what are some of the things that might be missing in traditional schooling that would help students to truly understand how to motivate themselves and really think about who am I, what do I want to become, and how do I utilize the people and the resources around me to achieve my dreams and goals. It was the thing that I kind of sort of did, but didn't do it, in my best ability. Yeah, absolutely. But having some type of, preparation in this type of way where it's cool and it's hip and modern, I just feel like it helps with outcomes as far as, recruitment, retention, when it comes to trying to build the next generation of leaders, build the next generation of professionals. We do a number of experiential learning activities as far as connecting students to the business community. How do you know what you want to become if you've never been in a space before? Exactly.
Actually, can I ask about if a youngster is a teen or senior is not saying that college is not for me, but maybe the trades are for me. How do you handle somebody like that says, what, I'm just not cut out to take all these courses, but I'm great with my hands. I feel like I can build anything. How would you direct somebody like that?
Right. I feel like when it comes to the pandemic and COVID, that was probably one of the better outcomes that took place. Right when, the world wanted to debunk the power and the importance of trades and how much that we rely on those that specialize in trades to the best of our ability as far as the functionality of our everyday lives. If it wasn't for the pandemic, I think that, a student that would have a response such as that, I would support.
Sure.
But I think that it's more important to make sure that they come up with the idea and they follow through, gain the certification. Can you find here and there jobs? Of course, but I think that supporting this next generation as far as self-efficacy, there's something, I don't want to say that it's lost with this new generation, but we have done a really great job in terms of the generations before to create some type of cloud or cushion for this next generation as they grow into adulthood to say, I have time. I don't have to rush to become an adult so fast. But the piece that I think that every family, every mom and dad wants is to know that whether they're here in this world or not, I lost my mom, she was 44, and I was in my early 20s at the time, that that you've been able to plant the right seeds in your children so that your grandchildren and beyond are well, they're healthy and sustainable.
Like the Dawsons and Fitzgerald.
Exactly, exactly.
Right.
And so with trades, yes, college is not for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I think pretty much we think in this day and age, especially, Mary, Johnny, Susie, whatever, going to be college material. You're college material. I'm not sure. Look, whatever someone's passion is, right?
Right.
I mean, you had a passion. You followed your passion. It kind of took you circuitously to where you are now.
Right.
But it was a building block situation. And to your point, I think some kids young folks get stuck and blocked, and then they go in a different path, and the path is not a good path sometimes, and it gets them into drugs and
Exactly.
hanging out with bad folks and saying, oh geez, I can make all this money doing this. Well, this is not legal. Okay,
you're right. Mm-hmm.
And so it's such a great service, and
thank you.
It's so needed, and the schools are they're deluged with all kinds of standard testing and requirements and getting through their curriculums and syllabuses, and they don't have time for hey, Ashley, you look like you're lost. You look like you're struggling.
Exactly. My heart goes out to guidance counselors in terms of their caseloads, and I think that's also a wonderful benefit of Go Beyond Greatness is coming in as a supportive collaborator and partner.
Yeah.
My background, the piece I didn't share, is after working in the community and after finishing up my higher education, the college career pathway, I found myself working in education. I started off as a high school Spanish teacher at Catskill High School, worked there for about a year, and then I transitioned into higher ed. I worked for SUNY Ulster as a professional academic tutor in Spanish and sociology, and from starting as an academic tutor, worked my way up as a director of international programs and study abroad. And so taking the time to study different type of success models, diving deeper on, what does it take to inspire young people to think about bringing out their best selves? Or how do we, as educators, guide them in a way where they want to not only reach their highest potential, but will go beyond greatness? We're like, let's crank it up a little bit more. How do you exceed and go beyond that? Because life is so short, and wouldn't it be so amazing if we could support one another as far as being able to bring out our best selves? We would be like the Power Rangers, where everybody brings in their special power and talk about solving world problems. I don't think it'd be an issue, but I feel like with a lot of the uncertainties and conditions that we struggle with, especially during the pandemic, the anxiety, the stress, the fear, do I connect with you? Do I connect with you? If I'm a teenager, my life is my friends, but my parents tell me that the state said I have to be isolated, right? Why even go to college if every other week they're saying that either I could be on campus or not, or I'm forced to take the vaccine, or I took the vaccine and now I still have COVID? How do we keep the spirit alive for our young people to say that there's more life out there? Keep going. You can go beyond that. And I feel that it takes the leadership of who's in power today to be an example and a model. So mentorship, that's the big M that I hope that everyone leaves within this conversation. And then lastly, service to others. Whatever your specialty is, find a young person that might have an interest and even ask them. And young people, they know when you're being honest with them and you really care for them. And if they say yes, show them the way. See if this is something that might make their heart sing, because you never know who's going to be the next person to truly come up with the solution to solve some of our greatest world challenges.
Absolutely. Give some contact information again, please.
Yeah, so thank you,
Ashley
Tony.
Niles. Thank you
so this
so
is
much.
Ashley with Go Beyond Greatness. Our website is www.gobeyondgreatness.org. You could find us on Instagram at go_beyond greatness, Facebook, Go Beyond Greatness, Inc., and we are located at 721 Media Center, Suite 104 on the first floor. And don't be shy. Reach out. My contact information is on the website. You can give a call or send an email, because any way of communicating, as long as we connect, that's the part that's important.
We have a minute.
Well, let me just say that I just want to refer to some things that Ashley said earlier. You do have a big voice for a little girl. And you really
Thank you.
need to remember that, because we all know that talent is universal, but opportunity is not.
Very true.
And you are providing opportunity, which is really an amazing gift. And, as far as taking the path, I like to remind my students that in the manner of speaking, when you're out on the ocean, because that's the world, so to speak, you have to steer by stars that are still in motion. And I want to remind people that you may have set your sail or your sight for a certain port, but sometimes accidents take you to another place, and you have to be willing to accept that change in direction. And I think that you've demonstrated that really quite remarkably. And then you said this a couple of times, and I think it's really important. You have to do what makes your heart sing. That's really true. And my last comment is that, we had Ella Grasso, first woman governor of Connecticut, said, grow where you are planted. You have certainly done that. And then in terms of the notion of forgiveness, we just lost Desmond Tutu, and we also, of course, lost Nelson Mandela. And everything that I have read that these two men have written, it said it's all about forgiveness. So you steer by stars that are still in motion. Take it easy on yourself, young people listening to Ashley and this program, and just do stuff that makes your heart sing.
It's beautiful.
And I'm going to ask you to be a speaker at our next Rotary Club in-person meeting
Wonderful.
at
Thank
Christina's Restaurant. And, of course, I think that the Rotary Club of Kingston really needs to hear more about what you're saying and doing, so we can help you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
We'll have you back on.
I would love that.
Yeah, Ashley Knox.
Time flies when you're having fun. This was really short.
Amen.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on.
Yes.
Lawrence, let's go to break.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year
to you.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer: the drug facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the drug facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/drug facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a teen practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. His lungs weren't ready. His heart wasn't ready. His parents could only hope that one day he would leave the hospital healthy, and they would all live happily ever after. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year. You can help the March of Dimes stop premature birth and bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, I'm Ruth Quick from Town of Ulster. I support Kingston Community Radio, and you should too.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Okay, folks, we're back on. This is Thunder Thursday. We're having a great time. Our last show of the year. This is Tony Marmo.
And this is Richard Catabiani.
And we're joined by Colleen Mountford, but we're going to do some birthdays first, and maybe Colleen can assist us. How about that one? We'll give you an easy one. There you go.
Give her the one with the Polish name.
There's a lot of...
I'm half Polish. I went to Polish school. I know these things.
Yes, right, exactly. Perfect. All right, so Colleen, you can start.
Today is Ruby Kelly's birthday, and happy birthday from your friends at the Town of Ulster Senior Club.
Very cool. Richard, you have a...
Yes, we have a happy birthday to Ted Benson from his wife, Jean. Children, Jeannie, Kim, and Jennifer. 10 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren.
Holy
God bless you, Ted.
Man, he's
busy people.
I'm sure the kids are ruling the roost there. And the winner of the delicious cow pie for today, December 30th, from Boyce Dairy Milk House, 62 O'Neill Street. And again, condolences to the family on the passing of Dick Boyce. But the birthday winner today is... That would be Ruby Kelly. Yay, Ruby.
Are you awake now?
If you weren't before, you are now.
Got to be awake. Got to be in it to win it. So, Richard, why don't you introduce our illustrious guest?
Well, Colleen Mountford is one of the most remarkable people I've met. I rely on Colleen for many, many things. We have been Rotarians together for many, many years. We have very similar interests. And, you know, she's a past president of the Kingston Rotary Club and is current secretary, but I am real. Yes, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
Netherlands.
Right.
But Colleen is really embodies service above self. I know that she's a local girl. I remember you saying that you were born in Port Ewan, and then at some time you lived there as a kid, and then you moved away to Mineola, Long Island, and...
Long Island.
Long Island, I said it right. You got to go.
One word.
Yeah, it's just one word. And then, of course, near and dear to my heart, as you all know, is the community college. And Colleen went to Nassau Community College, which is one of the very best community colleges in the system. And then went on to Plattsburgh SUNY to get her BS in education. And then, as I recollect, you taught for about 8 years, 4 part-time, 4 full-time, and then the family came.
The family.
Ish.
Well, the family came during those 8 years. After 8 years, we decided to move to the Hudson Valley. And that's, you know, circumstances changed. My father-in-law came to live with us after my mother-in-law passed. And I was a caregiver, and teaching was just not as, teaching positions were not as abundant. And I took a position with Family of Woodstock, and I ran their adolescent programs for 10 years.
Yeah, for non-residential adolescents, then as I remember you telling me, these were children that might have been runaways or throwaways, to use
a lot more than you realize.
Yes. So 10 years must have been exhausting work on so many levels. As a mom, yourself watching this kind of child unravel.
Well, my children were in their early teens, and trust me, I learned a lot. So they did not take that path. Mom was like the FBI all over the place.
Holly, what year did you start with the Big Brothers Big Sisters?
I started in January 2nd, 2001. No, it wasn't. That's when 2002.
Early 2000s.
Yeah.
And you were the director there, executive director?
I was the program director first, and then Alan Thomas was Family Services was overseeing the program, and they needed a full-time executive director, so they hired me to do that. And I ran that for 10 years.
Yeah, that was a great organization, great concept. I mean, I know.
It was wonderful, and it was a
Yeah.
great job and needed. Oh,
Needed.
very much
Absolutely,
needed, yeah.
Especially today.
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
Well,
that
there is a
model
program now, but it's not called Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Yeah.
It's called Mentor Me.
Yeah.
Right, and
Right.
they're doing good.
Yeah,
They're doing
they're
good.
hanging in there.
They've asked me. I've met with them several times
Yeah.
about, how did you do this? How did sort of things to navigate the system? But
Right. By the way, Ashley Knox was just a guest here talking about the same types of things, right? Being available to adolescents or folks that young folks that perhaps need some role models, right, in their lives.
not only role models so much as someone to just listen to them. We have a woman we all know from Rotary. Her name is Louise Flood, and 20 years ago she was, I hate to think, but she was my age, or almost, and she became a mentor, and she mentored a young woman who needed to be socialized. She was living in a residence for mentally challenged. She was on the spectrum, really high up there, and a lovely, lovely young woman. But she was more advanced than her housemates, and they needed someone to teach her. And Louise would meet with her every week for 3 or 4 hours. She taught her things like how to cook. First, she taught her how to grow vegetables.
Wow.
They did a garden. I mean, you think it's the most simple things that are going to really,
Yeah.
they don't want the big, well, it's not they don't want,
Yeah.
but the things they remember are not the big flashy things.
Right.
I remember when I had a little sister, and the first time I took her to my house, she lived down in Broadway East, and the first time I took her out up to my house, it was a snowy day, it was cold. I lit the fireplace, and we were talking, and I said, how about we have some lunch? So she just wanted peanut butter and jelly. So we spread a blanket out in front of the fireplace.
Oh, nice.
And had a picnic in front of the fireplace. Do you know, and I've taken her to New York City, to Museum of Natural History. I took her all over, and when she was leaving, moving away, I said to her, what was your favorite time together with me? She goes, the day we had the picnic in front of the fire.
Amazing.
It's like 2 tablespoons of peanut butter and a couple of tablespoons.
Right.
But I'm telling you, she was never allowed in the
simple things.
kitchen.
Yeah.
And the fact that I let her go into the kitchen and help me. She would help me prepare the meal. I'd let her help me cook. And she also had to help do the dishes. That's part of the game,
That's
you know.
part
And
of the
these are
deal.
life lessons. And
Right.
I ran into her when she was about 17 or 18 years old. She moved back to the area. And she said, I always remember those days. You know, we'd go up to your house and you'd teach me a new meal. And I would let her take the leftovers home to her family so that she could show them, look what I learned.
That's great.
Wow.
So, they don't need flashy things. They just need someone who's going to listen to them.
Right.
And I also mentored a 15-year-old boy who could have gone, he was on the cusp. He could have gone either way. And I'm happy to say he's almost 30 years old now, and he's highly successful. He owns his own home. He works for the ShopRite Corporation. He's a trainer.
Wow.
And he's doing amazing, and he still keeps in touch with me.
That's great.
And he ought to, honestly and truly, because you've given so much to so many people so selflessly over the years, and that is the truth.
Tell us what you're doing these days.
Yeah, so we go from kids to from one end of the spectrum to the other with Next Step Home. Tell us about that, please.
I had over 25 years working with children, and I figured, you know, I'm getting old for these head games.
Right.
And what was the most underserved population? And I honestly thought it was 65 and olders. And, you know, sometimes, you know, I just didn't know where my niche was. And then my sister on Long Island owns a company called Simply Organized, and it's the same. We're part of a national network of. It's called the National Association of Senior Move Managers, and my sister told me there is no one in the Hudson Valley who's part of our organization, and this is your way to get your foot in the door. And I really think you would be appropriate for it, and I think you'd be great at it. So I tried it, and we were coming up to our 7th anniversary in August, and
Mazel tov.
It's been an unbelievable. I've learned as much as anybody else. Every job I look at, what did I learn from this job? The people I meet. Richard and I are going to collaborate on a book about the people I've met. I meet sometimes 15, 20 people a year, and new jobs, and they're not repeat performers because they move away, but they send me Christmas cards. They still keep in touch, some of them. So it's when you're helping someone to make this transition to their life, and what's the difference between me and a moving company coming in and throwing things in a box? The difference is my human service, social work background is I can be empathetic. I remember having a client that would break out into a puddle of tears every day at the end of the job. And I'd have to make her a cup of tea, and we'd sit down, and I'd hold her hand, and we'd talk for 20 minutes. And I just figured that's the way it had to be. And that's how we got through it. And she left, and she didn't go out kicking and screaming. She didn't want to move, but she had to. And so she was, it was upsetting. It was very upsetting. And sometimes, the kids are, I get a lot of calls from the West Coast, I need my mother out here closer to me, pack her up, and, she can only have 5 boxes. And I'm like, really? From a 3-bedroom house? Yeah, not realistic. So I'm the negotiator. I'm like, these things are important, and you never know. It could be, I had a woman that insisted we pack a box of rocks. And I'm thinking, a box of rocks? And
Sentimental.
She was moving into a studio apartment in Berkeley, California. And I said to her, you really want those rocks? She goes, you can leave the Waterford bowl behind. I want the rocks.
Wow.
So I was like, okay. So I gave her the rocks. I packed them up. And what she explained to me is every rock was from a beach that she visited somewhere in the world. She was a big traveler.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it was important. And she was in the early stages of Alzheimer's. So she was starting to realize she was losing her grip. And these are tangible things that she could hold on to. I treated those rocks like they were Waterford crystals, wrapped them all up.
Well, I guess that's what people sense in your service. I also want to mention that Colleen has a staff, does very hard work. This is not easy stuff. And we have Alicia, Amy, and Betsy, and Colleen, all women.
And Barbara.
And Barbara, all women doing all of this work.
Is it Cohen?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, a lovely woman from up in Hudson.
Great. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, and
you have a staff that assist.
Right, and we pull in the muscle when we need them. We got a couple of guys that we can pull in for a day job here and there, but it's just there's so much. People don't realize what it is. It's just such an emotional transition. Even if they're looking to get out of town, even if they're looking to I need to downsize. I need to be a place where someone's going to keep, look out for me, like assisted living. But
so give some contact information for that, Colleen, for Next Step Home.
I have a website, www.nextstephome. It's all one word. .org. I'm on Facebook.
Yeah.
And
as Next Step Home or Colleen Mountford?
As Next Step Home.
Okay.
Don't read the Colleen Mountford. That's all my jokes.
Right.
And my phone number is 845-594-5913.
Okay. Well, that's and it's obviously 12 months a year. You're open, available. You're.
We keep pretty busy, and the thing is, people can call me in and they say we're thinking about moving, and I give them an estimate, and sometimes they'll come back and say, well, that's more than I thought, and I was like, okay, here's how I make suggestions about how they can pare back a little bit. Mm-hmm. You take care of this part, and I'll take care of the rest of it, and the paperwork is what people don't realize. That's tedious. And if I have to sort through 5 or 6 boxes of paperwork, we recently had a job where the woman hadn't opened her mail in 5 years.
Oh my.
Well, she lost her husband, and she was very depressed. And so she just kept piling it up it took me a day and a half to go through that mail. But in there, I found about, $25,000, $26,000 worth of checks she never cashed.
Wow. That's
So
crazy.
Yeah. But we went back and we she took care of contacting the companies and seeing if they would reissue checks. So, which is fine.
What year did you join Rotary, or roughly, and who was your sponsor in Rotary?
My sponsor was Paul Bankert from
Paul
Always.
Bankert. Oh, no
He was my
kidding.
landlord at the time.
Oh, no kidding.
And let me see, I joined in 2009.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been in for a while.
Yeah, I've paid my dues. I almost didn't stick around, and
Yeah.
I was like, the club was in a little funky place.
Tailspin. Yeah.
Yeah, and Richard had quickly assumed the role of presidency, and when I didn't show up for 2 months, he called me up.
Knocking.
He came and knocking, and he said, "What can we do better?" And I said, "Listen, you know what? You guys are, I don't know."
It's going in the wrong direction.
And he's like, "Give me 2 or 3 months, and if you're still feeling this way, I'll never bother you again."
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, not only did I stay, he got me to be vice president.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I trust Colleen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
it. And
yeah.
so if I have an issue, I say, Colleen, I'd like your opinion on this.
Sounding
And
board.
he gets it.
And I get it. And I have
Unabashed.
Right,
yeah,
right,
well,
right.
once again, what you see is what you get, and that's what I love.
right.
Yeah.
It's really, really important that people see that. There was something I wanted to ask you, but I can't find it here. So yeah, let's
Getting my age or my weight.
So I guess I think I can answer my own question, because the spark seems to have been, always helping people, especially with big brothers and big sisters and family of Woodstock. And so you have this kind of service above self wired into your DNA. And the next logical step, it seemed to be going to the senior community. And you and I both recognize, because we've talked about this, especially with people like Louise Bittenjackel and Louise Flood and some of the wonderful Rotarians that have been around for a while, that, they are national living treasures. And when you're working with seniors, as both of us do, because I meet Colleen and Alicia and Amy McCardle more often than not at Woodland Pond, because we have a lot of people coming into Woodland Pond. And I am just so appreciative of the fact that, I too have met some remarkable people. And yes, we should write this book. Shouldn't be too difficult to do.
No, they are fascinating, the things that, I was packing a woman up one day, and she's sitting in a chair. She was recovering from a pretty serious health condition. And I'm pulling out pictures, and there's a picture, and I recognize. I said, "That's Dr. Martin Luther King." She goes, "Yes." She goes, it was a march in Selma, and he's interlocked his arms with a young woman. And who was it but this woman that I'm sitting there talking
wow.
to? And I said to her, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
what was he like?" And, I'm doing this as I'm packing, because I'm not going to, And she was just so full of stories and so happy that I even asked her questions about it.
And that you recognized her, obviously.
I recognized, oh my God, this is beautiful. I said, "How lucky you were." She goes, "Yes, I was." Yeah. So you never know. I met a man who helped start up NASA. I'm like, really? He was a character, but he was a lot of. There are people that are living amongst us that we have no idea of the treasures. And people think, well, I don't have any big flashy thing, but you'd be surprised. Yeah. When I start talking to them and find out things, and I'm like, because when you're folding someone's underwear, right. Guess what? You get pretty close to that.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
But it's got to be difficult, and as someone is taking 30 or 40 or 50 years of their life, condensing it into, what do I take, what do I leave, what's the next step for me. To me, it's a very, anxiety causing, where am I going, what am I doing? I'm leaving 30, 40 years of my life, I say leaving, and now you have to tell me I can only take X number, 5 boxes. I mean, that's mind-boggling.
I never tell them that. It's their families.
Right.
Are
No,
usually-
no,
if they're
no,
moving
no.
in with a family member.
Smaller area or whatever.
Right. So we help them figure out, my motto is, and this is something I stole from my priest, which was, you
That's
can't,
not stealing, I
you
don't
can't
think.
put a U-Haul on the back of a hearse. So,
Right.
if you were to pass tomorrow, what would happen to all these things that you think are so important?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? Chances are your kids will back a dumpster right up to the back door, and we're so
Start
let's
devoing
figure.
it.
What are the things that bring you the most joy and the best memories? And
that's
having
great.
having to sort through my husband's things this past spring when he passed is, I really made me stop and think about what are the things that I really this stuff is not gonna replace him.
Right.
This stuff. So I kept a handful.
Memories.
Believe me, they fit in a shoebox. That's it. I gave away his clothes. I gave away all that other stuff. It's all gone.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize, I don't just dump it in the trash. I find a new home for that.
Right.
We work very hard. Amy is really good at reselling, and when I can help a client to find a new home and get a few dollars in their pocket, they like that.
Oh, yeah.
And many of them have beautiful, beautiful things that have been in the family for a while. So I've established relationship with auction houses, with, we do a lot on Facebook Marketplace. So it's
So your background, as is Alicia's and Amy, are all really based on social work / education. And I think that probably is, as we like to say, the deep bench that you guys bring to this particular enterprise.
Right.
Next Step Home, you're not just packing boxes, you're listening, which is very, very clearly an important skill. No judgment, none of that.
Right.
And in real estate, they say it's location, 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 and in your business, it's relationships, 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 and you're
It
excellent
is.
at that.
They usually find one of us on the team that they really connect with on some level, and that's the person who will do the hand-holding, and it's just, there's a lot to it. It's not just, listening to their stories, but helping them to make those decisions. Let's think about this. How important is this to you? This is your mother's. I had one woman who couldn't part with her mother's and her grandmother's china, in addition to the 2 sets she already had, and she was moving into a 1-bedroom apartment. I'm like, okay, let's be practical. Where are you going to use 3 sets of dishes? 3 other sets of dishes. You need one. Pick the one that brings you the most joy. So she did. I said, take it. Take that. Use it every day.
Correct.
Want to keep another set? Use them. Use the Lennox for every day.
Correct.
She said, why? I use paper plates. I go, nah, pull out the good stuff. Go with it. Use the silver. Go ahead.
Good.
So nextstephome.org is the website, and there's a little section on the website that you can get in touch with Colleen, name, your email, and a brief message, what you're doing. Their phone number's on there, 845-594-5913.
Yes.
And so it's a great service, and I think it's to me it fits with previous what you've done for people in the past and what you continue to do in Rotary for Boys and Girls Club, for Family of Woodstock. You're a servant leader. I'm sorry.
Big brothers, big
Yes, big brothers, big sisters. I apologize. I don't know how we got.
Joe Fay was running the other.
Joe Fay is a great guy. Is.
So let's just talk a little bit more because about our Rotary connection and this sort of segues very neatly into our next guest. But can you tell the folks listening about the Patriots House, please?
My favorite project. When I was between, after Family of Woodstock, it happened to coincide with 9/11. And being married to a Vietnam veteran who was having some PTSD, I decided to just take a breather for a year or so. And I did. And I thought, not even a year, but in the interim, I decided to work on some volunteer project. We were sitting in a coffee shop on Wall Street, a group of us Rotarians having a board meeting. And we were approached by the county executive, Mike Hine. And he goes, listen, guys, I'm wondering if you could help me out. And, you know, he said, we got this house. We got it for $1, but we've invested about $250,000 into the rehab, and it's on the historic registry, so we have to meet certain criteria. He goes, but we're really, we don't have enough money to furnish the house, and I need, because of the laws, I'm not allowed to fundraise. So I said, no problem. Nothing to it. So he goes, I figure, we'll get someone to write a few checks and that'll be it. So he said, can we do it? So we talked amongst ourselves, and I was the only one who wasn't working at the time. So I said, no problem, I'll do it. So I took it, and I said, okay, this is going to be easy. So I wrote to some big people with big wallets and got no answers, or I got no's. I was like, whoa, this is going to be a lot harder than I thought. Well, it took me 11 months, and the average donation was $25. I got as little as $5 from a woman who said, this is all I can afford, but my husband was a World War II veteran. So we went ahead and we raised all this money, and we got a lot of community support, children, all the way, the whole spectrum. In the end, we wound up raising about $58,000.
Wow,
and
that's amazing.
We wound up furnishing the entire house. We got great deals. I did a lot of bartering and finagling, but
it's a great project.
It's an
I
amazing
love it.
project.
It's a home for veterans, and we still support the home today.
Yep. And I will say that there are about 6 or 8 rooms in the veterans.
Eight bedrooms.
8 bedrooms. And in my tenure at SUNY Ulster, I had 4 of those vets come through my class. So the opportunity was provided for them for comfort, food, shelter, and that opened up their ability to try something new.
All right, we got to go to break. Colleen Munford, thank you for coming in. Have a great 22, healthy one for one.
Yep.
Always good to see you, Colleen.
Good luck with
Keep
next
up the
step
good
on.
work, kiddo.
Happy
All
New
the
Year,
best.
everybody.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
Lawrence, take it away.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. His lungs weren't ready. His heart wasn't ready. His parents could only hope that one day he would leave the hospital healthy, and they would all live happily ever after. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year. You can help the March of Dimes stop premature birth and bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
Hi, my name is Jackie Lovezzo. I'm from Lake Katrine, and I support the Kingston Community Radio because it is an invaluable resource to the community and its residents.
A powerful community bank is one that has leaders that are involved in their community. At Rondout Savings Bank, they invest in the success of our community by working side by side with local people and local businesses. When you choose to bank Rondout, you are part of a bank that is dedicated to the future of your success and the success of your community. Rondout Savings welcomes you to open an account today and discover what it means to be part of a powerful community bank, one that knows you by name. Rondout Savings Bank, always working for you and our community, with branches in Kingston, West Hurley, and Hyde Park, also online at rondoutbank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Actually, because,
All right, we're on, folks. Yeah. All right, our last half hour of 2021 for Thunder Thursday. This is it. And Richard, I have to say, it's such a pleasure hosting with you. Really, it's, I feel like Colleen was talking about peanut butter and jelly. I feel like you and I are peanut butter and jelly.
He comes prepared, doesn't he?
I know,
He
man,
comes with his
dude
notes. He comes with a clipboard. I mean, this guy's ready to rock and roll,
He's
dude.
a teacher, man.
Yeah.
He knows his
It's an
stuff.
occupational hazard.
Yeah, he's only done
You
this
know,
for
if you are
a
unprepared
bazillion years.
in public education, the kids will chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah.
And I think there's a kid in all of us who's always waiting for the teacher to make an error so that they can jump on him. But Gavin is not that kind of guy. I just
Well,
want
wait,
to tell
before we get to Gavin, one second. Gavin's a great guy, but I just want to know, are you the peanut butter or the jelly? If you had a choice, which one would you be?
I think it's peanut butter.
You go with the peanut butter? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take jelly.
Okay, we're
I like
good.
jelly.
But I will tell you this, the bread has to be toasted.
Yeah.
Or I'm out. I'm
I
out.
hope you don't cut the edges off your bread, man.
Are
Do
you
not do that.
crazy? That's the
Yeah,
best
that's
part.
And yeah, okay, I'm with you. Okay, I'll be jelly. Good morning. I'm going to let Richard introduce you because you guys
Okay.
are buds, and you and I got to know each other briefly. And good guy, man.
Yeah, well, Gavin is an amazing guy. He's really talk about what Ashley was talking about in terms of making opportunities work for you. I've known Gavin for about 4 years now, maybe going on 4.5. We've worked at the Hudson Valley National Center for Veteran Reintegration. I work on a program that Gavin's part of called Warrior Writers, which is a very remarkable program. But the backbone of the center is, in fact, the vet-to-vet program, where Gavin and Jessica Bugbee and another fellow named Kevin, whose last name I can't remember.
Engler.
Thank you, Kevin Engler, who basically are there every day. If somebody walks into the door of the center, they will see Gavin, they will see Kevin, they will see Jessica, because we all know that the healing is consistency, especially with vets. And I just want to say that Gavin is born and raised in Buff Bay, Jamaica, and I looked it up. Wow, boy, oh boy, what a beautiful spot on the island.
It is.
And then at 5 years old, you left, came to the U.S. of A. when your father worked very, very hard to get the money to bring the rest of the family over. And my understanding is that you first went to Queens and then to Texas.
Yeah.
And then when you were back in New York, you went to Mount Vernon High School, and then you got your BA in criminal justice, and then you got your master's in social work from Adelphi University, which is my brother's alma mater, so I'm quite familiar with Adelphi, and a remarkable outreach program they did for masters in social work. And let's start with that.
Can I ask about his service?
Yes, of course.
When did you serve?
I served right after high school. Actually, I was in ROTC when I was in high school. It started like right when I was going into ninth grade, where they were recruiting young kids to join the Air Force ROTC. So that's where I actually got my first step into like military service. And then after graduation, I was telling everybody that I was going to graduate and go into the Air Force, but then retire, become a police officer, and then become mayor of my town.
You had a plan.
So I had a plan. But unfortunately, when I was in service, I was medically discharged because I took some of the medication that inadvertently caused a number of things, which I don't mind sharing because it's always, I always like to share because
learning experience.
Absolutely, and it caused headaches, seizures, and a whole bunch of other adverse effects, that I'm still living with, but able to deal with it. I'm able to manage it. So I was only there for about a year, but the experience for me was tremendous because it was something that I wanted to do. It was something that I knew was going to fulfill my life and put me in a place where it was going to be rewarded in long term. But the just being able to get back to civilian life was the hardest thing because
transition.
Yeah, because
what did you do in the service and where did you serve?
I was in Texas, San Antonio, Lackland Air Force Base. I was studying to be logistics, which is supply management.
Yeah. But that kind of wasn't your jam, so to speak.
I would have wanted to go into security forces because my plan was to go into as a police officer. Yes.
Yeah.
So they said my recruiter said go in as open, and I'm like, all right, fine, I'll go as open because then the security forces might open up, which is what I was hoping, but it didn't open up, so I just went to logistics.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so you get out of the service and you say, what now?
Yeah. With so many things happening in my own health, I actually, at that time, I think I was really, really confused because when you're battling something that you've never experienced in your whole life, seizures and severe headaches, you're like, how do you
cope with that?
Man? How do you have people see you as a normal person without thinking that they're judging you for every single thing that happens to you, and also not allowing people to look down on you to say, hey, you're feeling sick today. Well, don't worry, you don't have to do anything. Stay home. You want to be normal with other people. You want to do different things, and unfortunately, it was something that I had to try to live with for a long time because it wasn't something that was really being addressed too well when I was trying to get the medical care.
So, in a manner of speaking, do you feel that your spark was to have other young men and young women not go through what you went through to get the help that they need? Is that more or less what drove you to the service above self aspect of vet to vet?
Well, I've always been a big advocate for allowing people to just help themselves. I think, quick funny story. Like my first job was when I was 14, and for that whole summer I worked because not because I wanted to get a car, not because I wanted to get something for myself. I actually worked to get enough money so I could take my brother on a nice, great birthday, and he actually really had fun. So selflessness has always been
part of you.
Yeah. So for this, for me going through these situations, it was a great way for me to help educate others as well. I always tell everyone, if you're going to go into service, especially reserves or guard, know what you'll be receiving once you leave, because so many people don't know that if you're not federally activated, you won't be able to get certain benefits from the VA, and that's something that a lot of service members don't know. So I'm always trying to educate everyone, know what you're going to do when you get in, and then after you get out, know what you're going to receive afterwards.
How did you find the Hudson Valley Veteran Reintegration How did you find this program?
Well, interesting story, because it goes back to Adelphi, which I love telling this story. In my second year of Adelphi, Juanita Hotchkiss, who was the field instructor for Adelphi, said, "Gavin, you should go into Hudson Valley VA and become a social worker." But I was thinking, no, I think I want to go to the sheriff department because they're looking to have social workers in there. So I was still leaning towards law enforcement.
Right. You're determined, man. You're determined.
So when she said, "Gavin, you should definitely think about it," and I thought about it, and I was like, "All right, fine." And I was able to get a field instructor, Mary Baker, who I tell everyone she's an amazing person. She's also a teacher as well. And I was gonna go into the infectious disease department, which is it is interesting because that's something that I never would have thought about going into. Clinical work, medical field. And it was a great, step for me to say yes, because it opened the door to me coming here. Where when I met with Mary, she's a great inspiration. She said, Gavin, there's this 3-day training that helps with equine therapy, go there. You'll be able to meet other providers and everything. So I was like, all right, okay, yeah, no problem. And she was always telling me go to these different trainings, and I'm always saying yes, because I'm like, if I want to be able to at least educate others, I at least have to get out my comfort zone and step into things that might make me feel uncomfortable, or just might help my education. So I knew this was actually a great opportunity. So when I got there, I met some great individuals. Then I met Christina Walsh, who's the I'm gonna mess up her title, which I always do, but she's with the 99th Readiness here in Saugerties. She's the family coordinator there. And we talked, and then she introduced me. She spoke about Kevin Keaveney, who's the founder for the Hudson Valley National Center for Veteran Integration. And she said, Gabby, they're going to try to start a vet-to-vet program. I'm like, that's amazing. I want to help. Yeah. So she introduced me to him, and then after that, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, when I met him, we just clicked it within the first 15 minutes. Yeah. And he said he would like, help me. He'll like me to help him develop the program. I'm like, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So wherever I end up, I knew I wanted to help develop this program.
That's great.
And when we started to work on it, when we got it, together, he said he would like me to actually manage the program and become the director. I'm like, really? And I was like, absolutely, I would love to do this. So that's how my path actually led me to here.
and this is, why don't you tell us a little bit about the PFC Joseph P. Dwyer Veteran Support Program? Because I remember when we were struggling for a couple of years waiting for the funding, 2 years, waiting for the landing call from the conning tower to come down. So tell us more about what you do at the center every day.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give some history about that too, last year...
Where is it located? Let's give a location.
Yes, it is located at 100-800 Enterprise Drive. We actually just moved to that location last month.
Which is Tech City land?
Yep, yes. Just across the street. Let me just clarify. When they showed the films throughout the city of Kingston for the summer, it's that building.
Gotcha.
And Tech City is starting to develop, which is great to see. Businesses come in there, which is amazing.
Yes, that's going to be a good story. So
PFC
talk about
Joseph Dwyer.
Yeah.
Yes. So last year, when Senator Metzger was able to get the funding for the county, unfortunately, we were in that dry spell of the states not releasing the funds. So within that, we still saw the need of what the county needed to help the military community. So we just took on whatever came to us and just represented the Dwyer program through a time where we actually had no money. So we're just working, knowing that it was rewarding for the community. So now that we actually was able to receive the grant this year, we have two staff, Jessica Bugbee and Kevin Engler. Jessica is an Army medic combat. And
we met Jessica on your show.
Yes, you
also
did.
Yeah,
wonderful.
She's great.
And Kevin Engler, who's actually a retired police officer and Dutchess County detective, and he's a Marine veteran. So the Dwyer program have peers where it's veterans, and some do have civilians who are probably spouses or family members that's connected to the military community, because where the conversation usually comes and really get someone to get the help is if a veteran speaks to another veteran, or active members speak to someone that's already left the service and is able to say, hey, this is what you should do. So that's where they saw the connection. But the Dwyer program, Joseph, unfortunately passed away by accidental overdose of aerosol. And I think it was about 8-9 years ago. I'm going to mess up his title, but Lee Zeldin, he, along with 4 other counties, started a pilot program for the PFC Dwyer program, and that was in Long Island, and I believe Saratoga, and I can't remember the other 2 counties, but they were able to pilot the program with 4 counties, and that was about, 9 years ago, I believe. And now it's 25 programs, where next year is going to be 26, with Albany receiving another.
25 counties?
Yeah, 25 counties.
25 counties.
That's huge.
It grew.
50-something in New York State or
61. 61.
Yeah, so it's growing, and the community knows how important it is. Last year, when we started everything, we actually did the walk from Kingston to Albany. We did it again this year, 56 miles in 22 hours without sleep, and that was to represent. I love metaphors. I love to show images without using words. And what it represented was, the struggles that a lot of us will experience within 22 hours, 24 hours of where we might feel broken, we might feel, mentally drained. And that's what the walk was. It was a physically, mentally draining experience. But there was law enforcement from the time we left all the way till the time we ended. The county, the state, local. We had Red Cross. We had the Girl Scouts give us food. Like, we had so many supporters through the whole walk, and that was a great representation of what happens when someone is going through a bad experience. If they just reach out and say, "Hey, can you help me?" or I'm in a situation, I don't know what to do. Where can I go? And that's where a lot of military members reach out to PFC Dwyer programs, because each county is very unique. Dutchess County is very unique. Sullivan County, Orange County, they all have their own programs, which is unique to their demographics, in the county. So that's where it's so important, because we bring that unique aspect to what we can do for the community, that people really gravitate to us. And because we're under the Hudson Valley National Center for Veteran Integration, they have the kayak program, they have like the Warrior Riders, they have so many different things where we could say, hey, if you don't want to, have these groups with us, you could still go build kayaks, you could still
plugged in another way.
Yes, absolutely. So it's amazing.
I have a question. Because this is as soon as Gavin was talking about speaking to folks, it hit me that I know this program is about reintegration, folks coming out of the service, right? And trying to find their way, find their path. We talk about this a lot. Do you ever get an opportunity to talk to younger folks that are considering going into the military? And it almost blends with what Ashley Knox was talking about, Richard, earlier.
Going beyond greatness.
Yeah, exactly. And because what hit me was that when you said, some folks going into this don't exactly know what they're getting into necessarily before they get in. I know you're dealing with folks as they come out. I get that part. And I think that's super important. But, do you ever get an opportunity to talk to young folks considering going into a military career or life?
I'll say me, not yet, but I know some other program managers have had speaking engagements where they're able to speak to
high school kids.
Yeah, or college. We do actually went to the New Paltz.
Oh, you did? High school?
I'm not sorry, not high school. The college.
Oh, New Paltz College.
Yeah. So I visited I think once or twice, but with COVID, it kind of separates us from being very, very interactive with the community, where we're actually at the libraries. We are, at different places where people could come and see us, but we've also tried to have an event in the elevator area where we could actually put on these different resources. But unfortunately, with COVID, we couldn't even have that. So it's just it's a big separation now that since we're in the county, we're trying to do as much as we can with what we have.
No, I get it.
Let me just say that I understand the difficulties with COVID, because last week we had Mark Cuzzapoli and Frank Ruggiero from the Veterans Association of Ulster County, and they gave the Kingston Rotary an award for what we do. But Mark said, "I've been on this job for 2.5 years, but it's really felt like 3 months because I can't get out."
Because 2020 was
COVID just put the world on pause. It squashed us, and so all of the great energies were just sort of,
I get it. Haven't been released.
Haven't been released, and so now, basta on COVID. Let's just move forward, and that's exactly what Gavin's doing.
Look, every person I have met from this organization has been so impressive, I have to say, and thank you, Richard, for continuing to raise the awareness of the veterans coming out and services available, organizations like the Vet to Vet program, Hudson Valley Reintegration Program. it's amazing. I mean, I have to say, never knew it existed, and I've been here since 1980.
Well, thank you.
But
yes, we're here. We're here to stay. We have dedicated and professional guys who have a lot of knowledge, like Galvin, and ladies. That's true. I'm aware of that. Thank you for getting me in trouble, Tony. Okay.
Peanut butter.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Jelly. But also connecting the families of the veterans, the food pantries, housing assistance, other benefits. Because, we there's just no other way to help but to help. We really do walk the talk. Go ahead.
I don't want to cut.
No, please.
And I definitely have to say, like 9 out of 10 times, it's the families and friends that's reaching out to us. So we know how important it is for families to be a part of the process, and that's why as we continue to grow and as we continue to develop, we're always looking at different ways where we could bring in families too. Like if there's a family member that's out there that wants to volunteer and have a spousal support group for spouses that have family members that's in the military, that's a great way to also get them connected to understand what's going on with that person. So we're always looking at different things to bring people in with us, and now we're having
very inclusive.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's the name of the game. It's the door is always open, and I just want to be clear that it's really not therapy; it's therapeutic. I mean, the things we do. And then it's hands-on. It's
writing.
It's building. It's writing. It's painting. It's making paper out of your old uniforms.
That's so critical.
Moving it, decomposing.
So
I mean, we have some amazing opportunities to help, but it's people like Gavin who basically keep the door to the store open. I mean, when somebody walks through the door, there's Gavin, there's Jessica and Kevin, and they always know that they have a platform to be listened to, and that again is the real trick, just to be open and listening and not being judgmental. We only have a few minutes, so I want to talk a little bit about your family, because I know that you have a brand new daughter, little Eden.
Congrats.
And he has a little boy, so he's got two really young children, Gavin Jr. I also got a real big kick out of the email when we were conferring with Gavin, and you apologized for leaving Gavin.
I left the S off.
Yeah, left off. Well, and then Gavin gets back, and I thought this is exactly what Gavin, who this guy is. Says, well, that's not too bad, at least you didn't call me Gavin or Garvin. And then he listed all of the ways that you can mutilate your first name. And so,
that was cute.
What is really good about Gavin in general as a person is he's a very serious guy, but he really doesn't take himself seriously. And there's
sense of humor.
There's the real trick. He's anchored in he knows who he is. He knows what his job is. He knows what he can deliver. He knows he never promises what he can't deliver. And I think he must be a remarkable dad.
So as we're at a point, you talk about your kids for a little bit. Absolutely, please let us know. But I'm curious about 22 and what you see coming in store for the Vet to Vet program.
Yeah, well, currently I've been looking at different things that we can actually engage in. But, going back to COVID, we're looking at, like, what events. And unfortunately, with the Omicron rising and, so much concerns with so many things, it's kind of hard to really put on events. So what we're looking at doing is still having some type of social gathering that is social distance, because as you saw, our space is pretty open, where we could have some groups. Yes,
wide apart.
And we have the hybrid, which we have the
Zoom.
Yes, the Zoom. So we're looking at ways to really work around COVID to make everything safe for everybody. So right now we're still planning. We've actually been collaborating as well with Safe Shoot, who we actually had our Vets Given Day, which was an amazing event.
Dr. Sawyer, Adam Sawyer.
So they're
Is he a vet, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So their space upstairs actually has an open space where we could, have different things. So we're looking at different things that can happen.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, you got to keep planning, because one day this will be over. We will get through
absolutely.
Through this, and hopefully this last go round is the last vestige of it. Seems like not as virulent as some of the the Delta or the original COVID. So. But yeah, this is such a great program. Thank you, Richard.
Well,
for
it's
doing
my
this.
pleasure. I just want to also give a shout out to Gavin as a writer, because as he's mentioned, we have a program called Warrior Writers, which we've been doing for 3 years, and we're nationally certified facilitators. And Gavin is an amazing poet. I'll just say that. And so what we're doing is we're putting, after 3 years of, and 6 cohorts of warrior writers, we are putting together an anthology of poetry and prose. And Gavin's got, I personally think 3 of the poems that you've written are really profound and should find their way into it. But the reason we say that is that we want to get the story out. Now, ultimately, we were going to do a performance-based project because that's what, visual and people are more comfortable with. But once again, COVID put that kibosh on that. So now what we're doing is we're just recognizing some of the great writing that has come out of the center. As I mentioned, Gavin being one of the better poets in the group.
And some contact information. We have like a minute, Lawrence, right? Ish. Contact information for your program, for HV.
Alphabet soup.
I like it. Soup, right.
So I'll tell everyone, reach out to us, 845-481-4004. That's our main line. And if anybody has any questions or referrals, they could absolutely send me an email, which is Gavin, Gavin, .Walters, WALTERS. Yes. At hvcvr.org.
Okay, great. Yeah. Thank you. And I've had conversation with Kevin. We love, I'm in the staffing business. If folks are looking for work and veterans, we love hiring vets. They're reliable, they're dependable, they get it. They have a lot of the aspects that make a good employee for someone. And so, please, let us know if you have any folks that are looking for some work.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
COVID be damned.
Amen. So when you leave here, you go to the center, and you will be doing what you do so well, being available and listening and helping.
Great.
Absolutely.
God bless you, Gavin Walters.
Everyone have a great 22. We got to leave 21 in the rear view mirror, Richard. You've got to look in the windshield forward, okay? Is where we're going. We're going.
Fair enough.
And we're going to beat this thing, and we're going to get back to normal. You got to stay positive. And go help folks in need. Go do a random act of kindness. I don't care if it's buying a cup of coffee for the some person in back of you. Unless they're trying to fill up their tank for $65, that might be a little. Might be a little pricey.
Mine was 97 yesterday, but I got a V8. So
all right, thank you. Thanks for supporting KCR in 21, folks.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Gavin, thanks. Richard, my man.
I guess we'll see you guys in the new year.
Yes, sir.
Well,
all right, happy New Year. It's a great show today.
Take good care of yourselves.
Take care. Thanks.